I don't think this is really just different standards. I mean, first of all, I've already admitted, trivially, everybody can claim to have a philosophy. It's not that I'm putting her like there's this bar of layman or not. I'm not talking about that. Anybody, I consider all kinds of people philosophers, and that what they're doing is philosophy. It's almost like somebody that doesn't spend a lot of time overtly, consciously thinking about their ideas as philosophy. You know, their behavior has philosophy, and certain consistencies and inconsistencies they could be put in words. But when they start doing that and trying to put it in words, and you look, and it's totally different. They're not following the reasons. If there's a total difference in how they think and how they behave, if they say I believe peace on earth, but they kill every other person they come in contact with, then it's not their real philosophy. And this is sort of the thing. I don't believe that objectivism is Ayn Rand's real philosophy because there's nothing there that coheres properly, and she abandoned it too quickly. And we have her novels. Now, you want to know somebody else who is not considered a philosopher that could be considered a philosopher who's a sci-fi author? Oh, Robert Heinlein. He's philosophical. So you could touch a book of the philosophy of science fiction authors. Very interesting. Definitely put Stanislaw Lem in there. Also philosophy. But would you study his? Uh, he didn't do any writing on philosophy as such, so you would be abstracting it from the start. But Ayn wrote these stuff. I don't believe she did engage. And seriously, an example of this is it's not a contradiction of these we don't know what to do. I don't know, that's a very difficult situation. No, she unequivocally is for the genocide of the Native Americans. She didn't want to hear about it. She said she believed the stereotypes of the movies and every lame reason to think that's okay. And it's a very clear application of her philosophy. And it doesn't engage. As far as I'm concerned, she's saying, well, my philosophy doesn't really engage. If you don't like the result, it doesn't engage. It's not a real philosophy then. Real philosophies engage with um, when the situations come up that they comment on. Okay, so the robbery from the Indians, definitely on the subject, and she didn't care. She's like, oh no, it's not a strong enough argument to convince me. It's her ideas supposedly, but it's not strong enough to convince her. So yeah, I think she misrepresented her ideas a bit. And then you read her novels, and you have all those books. If somebody gave me that book for free, maybe I would try to read it. I find her really the only reason to read her, as far as I'm concerned, is to explain to people why she's wrong. And I generally don't read people if that's the only reason, because I don't like spending my time doing that, and it's not a very positive way to read a work. It's biased. But I would try, and I could go through and just tell people what those problems are. But I did finally read one of her novels, and Atlas Shrugged. And I've read lots of her written work, lots of essays and excerpts and all kinds of things, and argued with all kinds of people, and read all kinds of Peikoff and this kind of stuff. But okay, I can see there why, if you extract a philosophy from that book, it is not objectivism. It's not about objectivism. It's about, you've got to break down an old restrained moral system because you need to be more of a free animal. It's kind of existential, and so maybe you have a morality against cheating, but your loyalty to that system is and then it's metaphor for the system as a whole, and the moochers versus, and it's there's a philosophy in there of how people think, and in objectivism, she wants to make it sound like it's a philosophy of epistemological certainty and knowledge and how you be certain. Now, it's a philosophy, a very simple one, of that there's certain kinds of people. There's the industrialist, there's the moocher, there's the, and there's all these things of guilt. And I found in that book that there were certain things like that, like on the personal level, like people might be acting ironically. On the other hand, it was also overblown because it's just so. But anyway, I won't get into that. But there was some insight about love. Even I sort of agree. People need to listen to that, and they're, uh, and people with bad characters that sort of step up and do good, and people with good characters who you thought but who fall back. So there's a lot of real world, non-objective, sort of vaguely romantics about how the great, currents of the sea of life, move us and brush us and what we can do to use our will. So I like that. She has a philosophy that's about what you're supposed to do with your will. Has a philosophy. Just like Heinlein has a philosophy. Just like the guy that sits down on the street in a Dharma suit saying, need money to get back to the island. He has a philosophy. Everything has a philosophy because you can abstract one out. That's something the philosopher does, is write it down. And she was not able to write down a philosophy. She wrote down an incoherent set of things that is a marketing. We're objective. But actually, we're romantic idealists. Totally opposite. But anyway, objective, and we're. So. So I think you can discredit. Not because she didn't get educated enough. No, she starts off as a philosopher. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. Perfectly inverted statement of untruth. Doesn't even represent how I feel. Wow, I just achieved creating something that isn't philosophy. Right? Because it's like, if she just wrote a novel, you wouldn't say, well, that's philosophy, but there's philosophy in it. The philosophy of, you could write a book, The Philosophy of Ayn Rand, and it might be a philosophy text, right? But she wrote something, pretended it was a work of philosophy, has topics related to some of the fundamentals of philosophy. Doesn't mean it's not just a novel in that form. You can write a novel in third person, first person, second person even. Write it in the objective form. And you can look in there. Are these characters or is this philosophy? Do these things connect? Is there some sort of system of ideas that is, this idea feeds to this way? Or are they characters? This idea wanders over here, and now this idea gets too close to saying we shouldn't kill the Indians. This idea runs over here and goes to Detroit for 3 weeks where he dies of cancer. I mean, I don't think she's a very good writer, so I feel that my open part of accepting that I don't get to decide who's what, of course, overall, she's a novelist. She attracted a lot of people. She can claim to have been good. She could claim you want to teach her as in pop fiction or even literature. I'll leave that up to people that care about that. But, basically, writing a novel, writing ideas that are to just look like that doesn't, it's, maybe I should read this. I've read plenty of excerpts from that objective treatise on objectivist epistemology thing, and I'm just so unimpressed to read the whole thing. I mean, if you get a little bit of a sample of, a couple thousand words of something, and you've read a bunch of essays, but if somebody wants to hang their argument up on, no, if you read this, it's all her ideas, or, I mean, for all I know, I might have read her. I've been reading her for freaking 30 years, piece by piece. I'll tell you what, though, I am biased against her. That's a part of this. I don't want to buy her books ever. I had to be given them, find them. I don't want to check them out from the library. I don't want to be any bit of, we need more of these books. People want to read them.